I'm Arlene, host of the television talk show Ask Arlene, which airs on Thursdays at 6:30. And as a business consultant and life coach, I help you to move forward in your business, project, or endeavor. So if you always wanted to write a book, but you just haven't seemed to get started, or you always wanted to 10x that business that you already have, expand it to the next level, you know exactly what you need to do, but you just haven't done it? Well, I've already purchased all the courses, read all the books, the Tony Robbins, all sorts. I have several degrees, including a master's degree and credits toward a doctorate. I've sat with and met celebrities and done the networking. And what I realized is what I really needed was a mastermind group of people working toward my project, my business, or my endeavor. So what I've done is met with coaches and met with experts and put them together to work on your project. So join us today for our Mastermind networking group. I'll see you there. Click the link below and join us.
About how you can move forward, get unstuck, and become the best version of yourself as well as they have in their own lives. So, without further ado, hello, Leslie.
Hello, Arlene. Thank you so much for having me on. This is a fabulous show. Thank you.
Thank you, Leslie. That's so lovely of you. Now, you have been around far and wide. How did you come to this particular work that you're a part of now?
So I spent 30 years as a social worker. Thank you for calling me a young lady.
I love it when people do it to me, so I figured it would work.
Appreciate it.
Let's pretend we've not worked for several years.
Yes. So I spent 30 years working in prisons, shelters, runaway shelter for homeless and runaway youth, 20 years consultant foster care, Department of Defense, on and on. My own childhood trauma. I spent decades in my own therapy and many years suicidal and struggling with my emotions and all kinds of stuff. So I came up with the idea because people have nowhere, most people, to process their feelings, their experiences, be who they really are, feel understood, feel cared for, to create peer-to-peer games where people can get together. So I have a prison reentry game, veteran reintegration, inclusion, many different quote games. They're restorative games that help people to get very deep with each other and many times say things they've never said to other people before. And that's a big relief. Like we talk about fear. A lot of fear is people have learned they're not okay. And so they get terrified to be themselves. And when they have to speak or show up, they're scared because they've never been supported in who they really are. Maybe their parents or caretakers were dealing with their own trauma and chaos and weren't able to hold space for them to have their feelings. So, like with my reentry game, there are different cards. This is the game. So, a question might be, if you could speak to Lady Justice, what would you like to say to her? Everybody will answer the same question around the circle. That can go on for an hour, right? Or another one would be, what is one of the most difficult things for you now that you're back home or going home? So like in an hour and a half, there's usually two questions because everybody gets incredibly deep. They hear their peers. They feel it's a safe place because everybody's being vulnerable. People who have, I did workshops in maximum security in the community. People who have never gone to these places feel safe, and it's an incredible relief. And then there's fun things mixed in because we don't want it getting too heavy. So self-portrait, each person draw a self-portrait, show it to the other people and explain your self-portrait. So people can draw really funny things. And so there's a mixture of being creative and imaginative and real. And all the games have the same concepts. They're just in all different areas.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. So you started this work in 2009. It says you started the Transformation Games. Now, we've had a lot of changes in our culture and in our society since 2009. One of the things is that everybody has a cell phone on their hip and we have the internet. And so the concept is that we are even more enclosed and more sheltered in terms of not sharing our feelings and not connecting with other people, which lends to a greater sense of fear, lends
And
to us
depression.
not
And depression.
self-actualizing, and depression. So how have you helped other people to, I guess, move forward and not be so closed off, but actually enter into
So
sharing?
my games provide that. They're peer-to-peer, and I have a free site for 10 free mini games in all different areas called COVID-19CPR.com. You can just click on any game, get on Zoom or whatever with your friends or your family, whoever you want, and have these deep dialogues in all different areas. But because I'm one person, I wanted it to be able to go on a mass scale where people can just pick up the games, be able to play with people in their own life, get much, much deeper than they usually would with people in their own life. So while they're talking and understanding themselves, they're also, the other people are understanding them both at the same time. And that helps people, like what youth always say is, I'm accepted for who I really am, not just for who I think I should be, which is for a lot of youth with social media and everybody trying to be, good, fit in and belong and be cool and everything is a revelation. So if you can't really be yourself and you're always feeling you have to hide who you are, that will make you feel horrible and depressed. And so these games are really meant for you to be authentic, have a great time, be known to yourself and to other people.
Okay, so we're talking about your program, and your program is used a lot in the prisons. And you're also involved with the South Bronx Youth at Risk Association, and you're involved with a lot of different groups. But it's interesting because some of the same challenges that the people who are challenged with recidivism, who are people who have come out of prison and are now trying to get back into the swing of things and become productive members of society again, some of the same challenges that these people are having in terms of fear and afraid of moving forward are the problems that we're having across the board. So why is it that very successful women or men who are working in corporations, who have jobs, who are, doing their daily work, are so afraid of stepping out and moving into some of the arenas that you've moved into in terms of business development, in terms of their own growth, and in terms of self-actualization? Why are we so afraid?
Well, a really big one, and I find this with my patients and my therapy practice as well, is people think they have to be right. They think they have to really know what they're doing, and they have to do it right and have to do it well. And that will just paralyze and cripple you. You want to do the best you can possibly do. You want to, do your best to make it right. But if you feel it has to be right, and that's an unconscious thing that you think, a lot of people's parents taught them they have to be perfect or right or something. Wow. That's completely paralyzing. So people can't move forward because they think if they're laughed at or if they don't do it great, they're at the end of the world, because that's the way they felt at home or in their childhoods, and that stays with them. And that's for a lot of people.
Is that why you got into therapy yourself? Was it a self journey and then you turned it outside and tried to help others? So I have a cousin who works for Pennsylvania University, UPenn, and he is a PhD in psychology, does therapy. And one of the reasons why he got into it was because he said he had his own journey to walk through. And the more he got involved, he then lent to wanting to help other people as well. Is that how you came to the therapy?
Yeah. I mean, absolutely. I mean, I think most people who get into this field because they have had to overcome or continue to overcome so many of their own. So yeah, I had a deeply traumatic childhood. My mom dealt with a lot of serious mental health issues, which of course impacted me and many other things. This is a short interview, but I was severely traumatized and disassociated, very, very disassociated to a terrifying degree. And was unable to access my feelings, was just numb, couldn't feel anything. Your feelings give you so much information and movement, and I couldn't access them, and so many problems, right? So it took me decades to really get whole, integrate, and be whole. And it's and healing other people is part of the whole journey. It really helps.
How did you make that transition? What did you do to then be able to overcome those feelings of challenge in 2 seconds or less? I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
It's an ongoing journey. Every day I have practices, meditation, swimming every day. I mean, a lot of practices.
Did you say swimming every day?
Yes. Yeah.
Swimming.
Oh yeah, heals your spirit, your mind, your body, everything. It's amazingly healing.
So have you always been a swimmer, or did you just come to this as a therapeutic measure?
I ran for decades every day. I worked out every day since I was a kid, and then I've been swimming for like 20-something years every day.
Okay, I can certainly substantiate the running because I have been a runner, and actually I just started out walking. And walking, I found it was able to help me to clear my mind and just clear my thoughts, and to just help me to be less drowsy and less dragging. It really helped me to move forward with the walking. And then from walking, I progressed to running, and the running is even better. So I'm on the journey. I'm on the East Coast. Where are you?
New York City, West Harlem.
Oh, so you're right here with me.
I'm right with you.
I'm not going outside to run.
I can see you from my window. Are you in Russia? No, I'm kidding.
Hi, Leslie. So, it would be lovely if, I could go outside like the other lovely lady who is in Atlanta, but it's a little bit of a challenge. So what do you do? Or do you swim in the winter?
Yeah, I go to the gym every day.
What about during COVID?
During COVID, I walked. So thank God it was warm out. So I went for long walks.
And now? Because it's not.
I swim every day. The gyms are back open. Yeah.
Okay. So you made it happen. You found a way to keep going. And the activity is what changed you. What else helped you in addition to the physical activity?
During the pandemic?
Walking.
Talking to people, enormous amount of work. So I'm working very long hours. I created the free site. I created a whole bunch of new games that are on the free site.
And that was just during COVID.
That I started that after COVID hit. Yeah. That's my contribution. So there's a game for loss and remembrance. There's one for healthcare workers. There's coronavirus emotional rescue game. There's couples love game. There's a whole bunch on there that anybody can just access for free. So I did that.
So you have been very busy.
Yes, very busy. And my practice. So I have 16 patients. And then I am working on 3 major projects now. And one is to address Black youth and depression and suicide. So I'm working with 5 youth on that one. The problem's much worse than I thought. It's really profound, and it's a much bigger problem than I was aware of.
I have a chance to spend a few minutes talking about the problem and also talking about the ways that you're solving it along with the other organizations. So I want to introduce our other guest to the show so that she can join in the conversation as well. And we have Darlene Sheridan. Hello, Darlene.
Hello, thank you for having me.
Hello, Darlene is the executive director of the Midway Community Resource Center, and we're very excited to have her involved with this conversation because she is also, as I said, a lady who knows what she's talking about because she is working in the field. She's on the front lines every day, working with the clients, helping to prevent recidivism in our community, and we tip our hats to you and thank you for the work that you are doing.
Thank you.
So we're talking about this challenge, and we're talking about how people who have come to this work, what their background is. Where did you come from? How did you come to be doing this work, Darlene?
Well, one of the early steps along this way is, oddly, domestic abuse. I am a survivor of domestic abuse, have been for 34 years. I celebrate it every January, but I have discovered through that experience that your misery can become your ministry. And so it developed into, after I had some recovery, I started a program called New Revelations. Initially, it was to help people find their purpose, the work they love, understand how they are made and how they can contribute to society. And then it also has moved on to helping people understand what the red flags are in a relationship that may not be healthy. From there, those experiences, I now attend a church where I feel that if a church is in a community, the members must be known by the people who live in that community. So I live in Douglas County, Georgia. I shop here. I do a lot here. And we want to be part of a community where they just don't see us come to the parking lot one day a week, where we're actually involved. So That
Awesome.
is, I'm the face of our community service projects for our local church.
So you really are on the front lines in terms of making the changes and moving people forward. What are you seeing in terms of how you're able to help people to then find their purpose and move forward? Whether they're in a recidivism situation where they're just coming out from the a prison facility, or just people on the street who still haven't found their calling and are looking to move forward.
Well, one of the things that we emphasize and we work very hard on is allowing people to realize they have value. Everybody has a purpose. Everybody is here for a reason. And a lot of times it's right there in their face, but they don't realize that it's a gift because it's so natural. So we spend a lot of times getting to know our neighbors, the people we serve. And from there, we have allowed people to express themselves and we have dug in and found those great nuggets. And when the light comes on, it's a wonderful experience when someone realizes they're good at organization or they're good at encouraging people. It's a natural gift, but sometimes people don't realize the great value they have in society.
Well, Ms. Sheridan, I think that's right in line with what your counterpart was saying, that people grow up feeling like we have to be perfect and that we have to do everything right. Otherwise, we don't have the value. And so we live in fear and we do things that are preventing us from moving forward and being the best version of ourselves. So what are some things that you're doing in addition to making those connections? So first you're making the contact with them and making the
Yes.
connection with them. What are you doing now to make them cause that light to come on and say, yeah, I am somebody and I can do something of value, something more value than I'm doing now?
Well, one of our key words is the word hope. Without
Hope.
hope, people really don't feel they have much need to exist, or they may just exist, or they may just survive. But the word hope gives you something to work towards. So on our door itself, we have a seal from the state of Georgia that's um, let people know that we are what they call a station of hope.
Hope.
And with that word station of hope, it means that for anyone who's a returning citizen, that we are a non-judgment zone. That our purpose is to help them along their journey, to reduce recidivism, and to give them, again, hope, purpose, because we all need it. All of us need hope. So we really
Absolutely.
focus on the word hope in a lot of the things that we do in the community.
I think we definitely need hope right now with all of the challenges that we're having in our communities.
Yes.
I mean, it's a challenge if you're just coming out of prison, but there are just challenges across the board with COVID-19, with the unemployment situations, with
Yes.
people who were in relationships are now, not in relationships, and vice versa. What did you do when you were going through your DV situation to transition so that you could become the person that you are today, helping others in terms of the recidivism and finding their purpose?
But with the DV transition, first of all, and this has been 34 years, that word wasn't common. I did not know what I was in, but I know I need to get out. And so I was scared of staying and I was scared of leaving. But through faith, the little faith I had, I was able to make a decision, and a good decision that landed me here in Atlanta, Georgia, from Cleveland, Ohio. One of the greatest things that happened for me is that I was looking for a divorce lawyer and went through an 800 number on my job, and it ended up being a counselor. I would never gone to a counselor on my own. But once I met with that counselor, I got a chance to see myself. And I got to see what type of patterns and behaviors I had that was causing me to be a victim. And once I understood what those behaviors were, I became more of a victor. And it could be simple things as checking in all day. Quick example, I had a brother who allowed me to use his car, and every 5 minutes I was calling him saying, I'm at the store. I'm going to leave the store. I'm at the light. And he kept saying, why you keep calling me? So those type of behaviors I had to unlearn. And so because of that, I do empathize with people. And it's not just domestic violence. could be the work you hate. You could be going to a job every day and feel like you're stuck, but you're
Right.
not. And so some of those same behaviors that people don't understand about domestic violence also are people who go to a job they hate every day. Some of the same reasons why people feel stuck.
Okay. So let's bring Leslie back in. Leslie, we're talking now about how people can move forward. And I tip my hat to you, Ms. Sheridan, because as you said, at that time, it wasn't even something that was talked about. We didn't have the terminology even to acknowledge people
Mhm.
who have gone through the domestic violence journey. And I'd like to also say that domestic violence is not just physical, it's also mental, because I experienced that from the mental capacity, a mental side, and I thought I wasn't experiencing it because it wasn't a physical situation. So I commend you in your journey. You are a transformational coach. You actually have certification in coaching. And Leslie, you are a therapist. So I wonder, what is it that each of you do differently? How do you come to the journey in terms of helping people to move forward, people who are stuck? So I'd like to hear the difference between the two, or maybe it's not that different. Perhaps you do the same thing. So what do you do? Somebody comes to you and they say, okay, I'm stuck. I need to move forward. I am working in a job as a technology person. It's a dead end position. And I want to be able to truly go into the area that I feel called to, but I'm stuck. What do I do?
Do you want to go first, Arlene, or you want me to?
I can go first. I think one of the best things a person can do is admit they have an issue. Until they can admit they have an issue, there's not much anyone can do for them. And so once a person gets to the point like, I really hate this job, then you can start exploring things. What do you feel like you want to do? How can you achieve it? Some things aren't overnight. Some of the best things that's ever happened to people is losing their job.
Mm,
And because of that, they have the opportunity to really start seeking out those things that may bring them satisfaction. It doesn't work for everybody, but a lot of times you have to be pushed out that nest in order to fly.
true. Okay, Leslie.
Yeah. And Darlene, congratulations on all your bravery and all your amazing work. It's very inspiring. A coach and a therapist are very different, because when you walk into a therapist's office, it's not, you know, it's more to create a safe space to say everything, to get deep into your feelings and what's keeping you stuck more emotionally, to go deep into the hopelessness, to go deep into, all the quote negative feelings, which then creates space for the realization of more options, and knowing that you're in an alliance. And that's the same as a coach, as well. You're in alliance with somebody. You're not alone going through this journey. So there they intersect. But I think in a therapist's office, you're going to get much more into the feelings, I think.
Okay. Well, we'll take your word for it, Leslie.
I'm not sure, because Darlene might very much get into the feelings though. I'm not sure.
Okay. Well, basically, you're both saying you're looking at the acknowledgement of the situation and you're talking about how to find that hope, how you move forward. Another question that I have, Ms. Sheridan, you said that it was about, let's say the person had lost their job and it was, not necessarily, they don't even have to have lost their job. They may be still working in that job, but it's not the job that they're called to. And you just seem to just be going along, and you want to round that bend, you want to round that corner, and you want to not just begin the journey, but you want to find a way to sustain yourself. With DV, sometimes people have been doing it for so long that they don't even realize that there is a route or there is a way of getting out. So what did you do to get out? What was your route? Who did you contact? How did you know where to go? What services? What did you do?
I think for me, one of the greatest motivations is near the end of that relationship, I had a daughter. For many years, it was just me and him. I did not. One thing about domestic violence is that you're isolated and fear is very real. Threats are very real. I think because she was born, I just couldn't imagine bringing her up in that environment. So that was my motivator. I also had been rooted in faith. I may have, in my teenage years, left the faith, left the walk, but I still had those principles and understood the power of prayer. Because of prayer and finally telling someone my situation, they gave me a way, support, and a place to go. So I made some dramatic changes. Most people don't have what I had. I had a family I was able to go to out of state. At that time, we didn't have cell phones, so when I used the phone at home, I would call the weather last, so there weren't ways to trace people as it is today. But it's the basis for domestic abuse is control, and it is a very hard thing to break out of. So I was very blessed. I was very blessed more than other women because a lot of women who leave end up dying.
Wow. Yes, yes. I don't know how much you know about my story, but one of the challenges that I had was I was recruited for a job clear across the country, and I was working as an executive director and CEO of a chamber of commerce, which meant that I helped the businesses to grow and expand and to market themselves. And I got very publicly fired. It was a public position. I was called on by the media, by the press for comments on various situations. So when I got fired, I was on the cover of the newspaper and it said fired across the top of my face. So this was a terrible situation and I really felt stuck. Now, Leslie, you have this organization, this corporation, and you have this game, and you're a therapist. What are some questions that you would have asked me to help me to get unstuck and be able to move forward from a public situation like that
Well,
we got?
as a therapist, I would have you just really, really talk about it all, know that you were supported, be able to cry and rage and let all those feelings out. Because when you don't do that, they stay in you, and you're stuck. You like people have mindfulness and being present. How can you be present when you've got all these stuck, jammed up emotions? You can't be. They have to be talked about and processed and explored. And so the games do that. And that's what you do as a therapist.
One question that you would ask me would be what? How to
What we would probably have a relationship, and you'd come in, and I'd just create the space where you could just let it out and let it go, and then
let it go. Just release
and then
it and
not
start
let
talking
no. It would take
there.
time to let that go, but to ask the
So
right
I want to
questions.
thank both of you for being on the show for this 29 minutes. We're going to ask you to please come back again because it wasn't enough time for us to share and really get to know each other. But I'd also like to thank you, the listeners, for spending time with us today. And I'd like to thank you, Mr. William and Justin, and all of you who helped us to put the show together today. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much.